Alright guys, today I want to react to this video posted yesterday by Patt Mcafe. Coach Taylor was on his show and he was asking him a lot of questions. Now this whole entire video is 24 minutes long. I'm only reacting to this short snippet of a question that he asked about our offensive line and how Coach deals with our offensive line struggles over the last couple years. So we will leave this link down below in the description. I recommend going and watching the whole entire video because it is absolutely amazing. He asked him a lot of funny questions, a lot of great questions, and Coach, you already know, he's absolutely amazing. He's going to answer them in the only way Coach Taylor can answer them. I'll just say it like that. But let's go ahead and listen up to what Pat has to say right now.
The whole time, whenever you talk about your offense and being able to have to run the ball to help the defensive line in everything, all the defenses that you're going to kind of face, you guys didn't have an O-line for a while. Documented. We all saw it. It was a big part of the conversation. Now, you had humans standing in there, but for whatever reason, they were turnstiles, and Joey Burrow was getting broken in half, and you guys were still winning games, though. Like, still, he got 7 times against the Titans in the playoffs, win.
Yes. Yeah.
Then next one, I think, like 9 times on the road, win. And then Super Bowl, I think he 8 times.
8 times.
Last play, going to get it again. Almost, I mean, we're like this. So everybody knew that entire offseason, got to fix it, got to fix it, got to fix it. You guys invest in it. Then for like the first 6-7 weeks maybe, and then it kind of settled in. What was it you think that really got your guys to the turning point to become a good group together? And was there any moments where you worried, like, we're never going to be able to figure out this offensive line?
No, I think that culture in that O-line room has really evolved over the last 4 years. You know, Frank Pollock's been here. He's worked really hard to establish the culture he wants in there. We've got the guys that fit that culture, signed some free agents, drafted some guys. So we feel really good about where that room's at and the identity that they have. And, you know, they're always together. You're in the weight room. You see them in the sauna. You see them in the weight room. They're always together. They're always eating together. And that's the type of O-line culture that we want from our guys. And so, again, I'm proud of the room that we got right now, and we're expecting big things from those guys.
Were you ever worried, though, that Joey Burrow was going to die on a football field? You know what I mean?
You know, I see a lot of quarterbacks get injured over the course of the season. You know, if you look around from team to team at the end of last season, that's just the nature of the game, man. The great ones tend to hang on to that ball a little bit longer to the last second to make sure that they can let that guy get open, and, you know, they're going to scramble if needed. And so sometimes those guys are going to take some hits. And, you know, I think Joe, if he wasn't playing football, he'd be like an MMA fighter, or if he had to go to the other side of the ball, he'd be a linebacker. So that's just kind of his mentality a little bit. I think he likes it to an extent. We got to do our best to protect him, but that's just kind of the mentality that Joe's got.
Yeah, we got visibly frustrated with him whenever he told us, and this was after he took that one shot in Philly where his head actually went off of his body. And
that was on a naked. He reversed course on a naked. You know, we're going out one way. There's no protection the other way, and he reversed course. And I think Fletcher Cox or one of those guys got him.
Yeah, and it was clean. I've never seen that clean of a shot. His head with the helmet off the body, and then he came back in. I think you guys tied the game, I think is how the whole thing ended. So he came on our show, and it's always great to chat with him. And, you know, I asked him, like, hey, I saw you lose your head against Philadelphia, and then, like, there's these other shots you took. Like, I was a teammate with Andrew Luck. Like, I understand that it's, like, cool, and that's what football is to you, but you need to, like, think about the whole program here, you know, and the whole NFL. And he said, I like getting hit. I have to get hit. If I don't get hit, I don't feel like I'm in a game. And I was like, oh, no, Joe. Like, Joe, this is not what we need to hear, but I think that's what makes him great, though.
That is like, listen, if you ever could take one snippet out, right, and say, please describe to me what AFC North football is. Like, what is AFC North to you in one sentence? That right there, I like getting hit. I don't feel like I'm playing real football until I get hit. That is actually AFC North. And he does talk about in this interview how, well, Pat asked him about, like, you know, winning the AFC North and that kind of stuff. And he does say how the AFC North is the toughest division in football. And if you can get through the AFC North, you know you're a great team. You know you're going to go to the playoffs and be really freaking good. But at the same time, though, going back to the whole thing about Joe Burrow, man, Joe Burrow is tough. He is a competitor, but he is just he's a workhorse, man. He's that type of guy that, you know, you just, like, no matter how many times he gets hit or beaten down, he gets right back up and still continues to be great. But to the offensive line struggles, I know Pat emphasized this, and I'll be honest with you, I really don't disagree with him how bad our offensive line was in 2019, 2020, especially. Again, I know 2021 Super Bowl year, but even then, our offensive line was absolutely freaking awful. Those 3-year period, especially. I know they were awful before that too, but I'm saying that 3-year period especially. It's, I know he said open door, like they were like pretty much just like human bodies standing there, like that's nice, and the guy goes right through. We looked at Jackson Carman's clip a couple days ago, how he just stood there on a play in the preseason last Friday, and the two guys went right past him. That's how it felt like with our offensive line the last 3 seasons. Now offensive line is at a point where we feel very confident and great. And last year, I think for the most part, offensive line was at that point with, having Kappa now there, Collins there, and obviously injuries derailed that too, right? But at the end of the day, I mean, I will agree. I know that Coach can't really say too much on that subject because obviously McAfee just called pretty much every single offensive lineman we had before last year and this year an open door policy type of offensive line. But I think that's pretty accurate. It was pretty dang accurate. And to say, again, how tough Joe is, Joe got to a Super Bowl with that. Joe got to a Super Bowl with that offensive line. But I think what really changed everything when it came to us focusing more on the offensive line, because listen, at the end of the day, even back then when offensive line was, not the greatest, it's not that we didn't want to improve our offensive line. Every team understands. I think every coach, owner, GM, whoever, they understand the most important thing of a team is, one, their offensive line. If you can protect your quarterback, you're going to win games. If you can run the ball effectively, you're going to win games. If you can move the ball, you're going to win games. Guess what you have to do? Have a good offensive line and to do all those things I just mentioned. So, everyone understands that concept. It's just being able to get the right pieces together. That's why this offseason, when Orlando Brown showed up on the, available, bam, we went and got him. We paid all the money we could to go get him because we needed to improve this offensive line. And although Joe is tough and crazy and insane, and he does play in the AFC North, we need to protect him as much as possible. Because not only for his health, listen, the more time he sits back there and throws the football, the more we're going to win, right? And let's be honest, if Joe has all the time in the world and has more time, let's say, for example, let's say 30% more time than he did last season, this season, throw the football, we're going to probably have 3 times the touchdowns, and we're going to be blowing out some opponents, and we're going to be winning a lot more games, and finally get the Super Bowl off our back and get the Super Bowl done with. And if you look back in that game versus the Rams, we had no offensive line, right? You look at last year in the AFC Championship game. At the end of the day, Hakeem got destroyed by Chris Jones. If we had a right tackle, we would have gotten the job done. And I know, again, as Coach is talking about here with Frank Pollock, changed the culture, added so much to this offensive line. But I think to a second point is something I really like a tad bit more. I know some fans don't really like Frank Pollock. I've seen a lot of fans in my comment section say he should be fired and gone. But to the second point he mentions about, working together and being together and always spending time together. That type of stuff, especially on the offensive line, is the most important thing ever. Communication, brotherhood, togetherness, etc. Working together as a team. Because at the end of the day, the offensive line, your unit, right? The center is going to hike the ball. The guards and the tackles have to be in the same snap count as the center. It's actually the one positional group that probably matters more than any other positional group when it comes to, knowing what the other guy is doing. Because if the center hikes the ball and the guards aren't ready and the tackles aren't ready, guess what happens? The guards don't move. The tackles don't move. And now the ball is snapped and no one's blocking the defenders. Let's say, for example, one of the offensive linemen doesn't know snap count. He moves quickly before the play. That's false start. Right? So, and then again, even going past that, let's say, for example, you have, the rushers are going straight forward, right? The 4-man rush, well, let's say it's a blitz, right? There might be a certain guy you have to pick up. Now, let's say, for example, you didn't even know that, or you didn't, you're like, wow, I don't know what guy had to pick, not what guy had to pick up, but you don't know who your right tackle is picking up. Well, now you might not pick up a certain guy thinking, oh, I think he's going to pick up that guy. That guy comes in, hits your quarterback. Again, that whole mentality, that's why offensive line, knowing everything about each other, communication, together, it's very important. So, again, like I said, I just wanted to react to this today because I kind of wanted to see what Coach had to say about it. I didn't think Coach was going to go too in-depth on it, again, because he really can't at the end of the day. But again, like I said, this interview was absolutely amazing yesterday for Patt Mcafe show. I love Coach, man. Coach is absolutely awesome. And I will say overall wise, listen, Pat can't grill him too much in this because, again, Coach is not going to, say everything. But at the end of the day, it's always awesome to hear Coach talk. So, guys, tell me down below your thoughts and opinions. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.